Hello and welcome to another episode of the Opus Well Style podcast. My name is Yvonne Watanabe, here with Jess. Jess, how are you doing today?
I am good. Good morning.
Yeah, having a good day today?
Yes, I am. It's a little gloomy
Excellent.
today, but otherwise.
I know it's a little gross outside, but Jess Sigmund, a new friend and sort of friend of the family here for the Opus family, joining the podcast with us today. Jess, I thought we would just kind of have you on, tell us a little bit about your business, sort of what you're up to these days. Tell us a little bit about sort of the market, and really interested in sort of the investment aspect of real estate, talking a little bit about the Airbnb space and your involvement and how, things that you found success in. So, with that, I just kind of let you start and tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Okay. Well, I am Jess Sigmund. I am a Compass agent in New York, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. I have a team of 8 agents, and we cover 4 different counties. So Rockland, Fairfield, Westchester, and now Rhode Island. I got into the business about 7 years ago, so have kind of watched a good amount of the market go up and down and change, obviously the COVID market, and now since coming back to like a more regular market. I do have an Airbnb, which I love, and my husband has 3 of them. So we're definitely big in the Airbnb family. That's newer. I bought my house 2 years ago and took it down to the studs, renovated it, and saw a ton of potential in the project that we did. So put it on Airbnb. It ended up just kind of taking off. So would love to chat a little bit about that, but still learning. I know you would ask me about the laws and how things change. I'm still kind of learning the market a little, but just feeling my way through it as I keep going.
Yeah, that's great. And right now, are you focused mainly on the buy side, on the sell side of the deals, both? Where are you seeing sort of your focus these days?
Yeah, so I really pick and choose, fortunately, to be able to do whichever one makes most sense for me. So if it's a seller that I've worked with for a long time and they're looking to buy, then I'll obviously represent them on the buy side and the sell side. Otherwise, I give a lot to my team and try to share a lot of the business, but I do both equally. I would say this year I was a little more listing heavy, but that just kind of depends on the flow of the buyers and sellers.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, right now, so as we're sitting here recording it, it's October 29th. Rates are coming down a little bit. Market seems still kind of hot. The prices on real estate still seem pretty competitive. There seems to be, at least in the conversations I'm having with clients, multiple bids on properties. I mean, things are not like slowing down, even with interest rates kind of where they are. So what I figured we would do is just, maybe set the stage a little bit on what you're seeing in the market in the tri-state area, Rhode Island, and kind of give us your take on the market right now.
Yeah. So it's definitely a different market. I feel like during COVID, we sort of lost spring fall market. Like everything was just always busy. There was no summer, there was no winter. It just was consistently busy. I'm starting to feel like it's coming around again, where it's
Mhm.
starting to slow down, right? It's getting a little bit colder. So you are starting to see a real market shift in real estate. The rates are bouncing around all the time. So they're going up, they're going down. They're not very competitive right now. I had talked a little bit about a broker that I work with that works at HSBC. And what I love about HSBC is they do a buy down for
Mhm.
$1,500. So if you invest in your loan with a company like that and the rates come down, say a point, they will for $1,500 refinance you, but you don't have to go through the refinance process, which is really cool. So if there's buyers out there that are waiting on the sidelines for rates to come down, don't do that. Go to a bank that actually will let you do a buy down versus do a whole refinance. We're still seeing bidding wars. We just listed a house last week for $3 million, and it's hopefully signing contracts today. And so that's a pretty nice feeling because that house was a little bit more unique. But we are still seeing where like we get 10 or 12 offers on like an under $1 million product and buyers get scared. They're still throwing a big number at it in a bidding war.
Mhm.
And then once they get the house, they get a little nervous and start, pulling inspection issues and stuff like that. That's a little more common right now. That wasn't like that before.
Got it. So they're sort of going in hot and heavy, and then once their offer gets accepted, maybe they're just a little bit surprised that it actually got accepted, and start to either backtrack or run the numbers or evaluate a little bit differently. Is that kind of what you're seeing?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we have to be so careful with that because I think people just get very excited and then get
Hmm.
regretful. It's almost like you want to win, but then when you win, you feel like you might have spent too much. So
Hmm.
definitely needing to have buyer agents really representing the client, pulling the comps, making sure they're supporting their buyers, understanding the value, understanding what they're overpaying, what that looks like over a 30-year mortgage. So yeah, say you might be spending 25 or $50,000 above asking, but over 30 years, what does that really look like for you? Is that
Yeah.
one or two less dinners a month? That's kind of what we have to make people understand.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, I have conversations with clients all the time that are looking and waiting for rates to come down, and folks seem to have very, very sort of short memories always, right? After a bad market, people have short memories. After a great market, people have short memories. After mortgage rates being sub 3%, like folks are still trying to compare their current mortgage rates to sub 3%, which we may never, ever, ever see again. So it's like trying to make these buying decisions off of this unicorn time frame doesn't make a ton of sense in my opinion. So, that's why oftentimes I'll have to even educate folks on, well, listen, the average 30-year mortgage fixed interest rate is like close to 8%, right? When you like really level set and say, hey, this is historical average for a 30-year fix is like 8%. Now suddenly, you know, sub six and a quarter doesn't sound horrendous, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so it's just a really, really interesting time to see folks really driving the interest rates driving their purchasing decisions.
Yeah, and I think we have to have a good balance of investment house, supporting the number and on the investment side, but we also have the other side of like where you're going to raise your kids, where you're going to have the holidays, where
Hmm.
where your life, begins and ends, all the other sides of real estate that are really important. And I think it's kind of trying to bring both of those together so
Hmm.
people can think like that, they're sitting in an apartment and they're outgrowing it and they don't have any more space, but they're waiting for the rates to come down. But right, their house is chaotic because they're outgrown it. But so make the jump if you know you're going to do it versus waiting and making your house and life a little more complicated. To me, that seems so silly. But also, we are very protective of not letting people buy things that are too small right now. Because if you
Hmm.
are going to go into a premium market, which we're still pretty much in a premium market, make sure you're buying something that you can stay in. Because if the market does shift, it goes down or whatever happens, you're in a place that you can stay. So if you overspend on this small house that you're going to outgrow and the market takes a turn, well, then you can't sell the product, then you're in trouble. So we're really
Yeah,
protective over the big picture.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think the other conversation we're having a lot of times is if this is your primary residence, like I really want my clients to love their primary residence. Like everybody's working extremely hard every day to come home to a place that you overpaid for and really don't like and are starting, are trying to, find your way out of it. That's like a terrible proposition, right? Real estate is such a big commitment in general. And as you said, like has so many intangible memories and raising a family that it's got to be something that you really like to come home to if you have an opportunity. Otherwise, you're better off just kind of staying where you are and saving more money and eventually buying something different or or not. But I don't see the point of buying something for just to buy something, on a primary residence point of view.
Yeah, I love my house. I think buying my house 2 years ago and being in it, in the thick of it, going through the mortgage process, going through the negotiating was really valuable as a real estate agent. I think that it's something that we all should hopefully do
Hmm.
because we want to be able to have walked the walk, especially when we're helping our clients. So, and then doing the renovation side of it, I think that was all really, really fun. But I am every day I come home and it's been 2 years, I love my house. So like I know that I made the right decision. And I tell people all the time, like if you love this house, you're going to love it even more when you make it your own, so
Hmm.
focus on that part. Now, if you don't, I can't create that feeling. I could show you
Yeah.
a house, I can negotiate a house, but I can't create a feeling of you loving a house. That's what the buyers do on their own. Once they love it and I could sense it and I know it's the house for them, I just have to do everything I can to make sure everything else makes sense on the numbers, the closings, the team you have involved, all that stuff, making sure you're protected. There's no flood risks, just making sure they're
Yep.
safe.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to set more of the practical sort of, okay, this is great from like what you're seeing and the feeling, but there's also some real decisions behind the scenes that need to get made, right? As you said, the financing and also some of the things that we can't see as uneducated buyers going into a place. And I have no clue if the foundation is proper or not proper, if if it's, does a septic make sense? Like, I have no idea, right? I mean, that's not what we do. That's why we hire experts to help us with that, right?
Yep. Yeah, there's
You
so
know,
much that goes into it.
I think shifting the conversation a little bit, really curious on sort of the investment real estate market. Um, Talking specifically in the sort of tri-state area, right? I think, I've had clients that have bought property in Florida, and now those figures don't make sense anymore because the homeowner's insurance for a property in Florida is wild, right? And then there's the flood risk and insurance carriers leaving that market, or evaluating and looking at a property, and now they changed the Airbnb rules. Like you and I had talked about sort of Candlewood Lake up here, and no longer being able to Airbnb it for less than, I think, a week maybe. So just really curious on sort of what you're seeing in the investment space, and does it make sense, does it not, or how you're evaluating those decisions.
Yeah, so I'm very like obsessed right now with the Airbnb market. I think there's a ton of opportunity in it. I think if you can find a house with a pretty decent amount of property that needs some work, they can make cute and charming. There's a ton of people that want to go out of the city for a weekend or for a week. Or I get renters of all different situations. One of them just lived across the street from the UN, and there was something going on there, and they didn't want to run into any traffic, so they both work from home. So they came, stayed at my house for a week. Or families that sold their house in Greenwich but want to come back for the summer, and they want to rent the house for the summer. There's so much opportunity for that, and all they want is a really nice, clean space. And it makes more sense than them booking 2 or 3 rooms at a hotel. They can bring their animals with them. They're all under one house. They could cook. You figure that you're going to the Hyatt for 400 a night, and there's 3 of you. It's 1,200 a night. It's hard to have your dog there. So I see so much opportunity. I had a woman that rented for me for the summer for 6 weeks. She messaged me yesterday, making sure she has the house again this summer for 6 weeks. It's like just the comfort of having a home type of balance when you're away. I think hotels are wonderful, but on a longer term, it's much people, especially with animals, love having a house, having a fenced backyard. So there's a ton of opportunity in that business if you're willing to do a little bit of work, making sure it's staged, work with a designer or something, because people love the way things look, number one.
Hmm.
So that's going to be your first how you're first going to get attention in these Airbnbs is have it designed really nice, have it warm and comfortable, and people wanting to go there and see it. Like if you look at Airbnb and you start to look through the houses, the ones that get the most attention are the ones that are really nicely designed.
Sure. Yeah, and so your recommend so it's sort of one of your first recommendations would be just make sure it's staged correctly, or the quality of pictures is nice. Yeah, anything specific about that? Do you normally hire somebody externally, or is it just sort of you have good taste and you stage it yourself? What do you typically do?
No, I don't have good taste at all. Even my office, I worked with a stager to stage my office. She brought in all the furniture, all the rugs, did all the design of it. I did the same for my house, even though I see houses all the time. That's just not my specialty. So I had her come in and stage my whole house. She brought in comforters. She brought in little sound machines for all the rooms. She has made it so cute. So I would always recommend work with an agent that has the connections and has the Rolodex to bring in all the painters, the whatever you need to. If you need to resand and stain floors, if you need a decorator or a stager, like we could help you with that. Most of us have a great Rolodex of wonderful contacts.
Got it. So looking for an opportunity, and you're talking about your primary sort of renting that out. And when you're looking for opportunities, what's like the core investment that you're looking for? Is it the number of bedrooms is the first place you start? Is it the property size? Is it the town proximity? Like, what are you looking for on investment properties for the Airbnb specifically?
I think Something that is not too far from the city for sure right now. I'm really interested in like a Stanford or a Bedford. I think people are looking for serenity when they come out of the city. They want quiet, they want a big backyard, they want all the things they don't have in their apartment. And they're
Mm,
probably city lovers. They love their being in the city and they love their apartment. But when they're coming out of it, they want the complete opposite, right? They want the woods, they want peace, they want space, they want a fireplace. So those kinds of things are what I'm looking for. I like Stanford a lot because you get a good piece of property and you're really not far from the city. They have express trains. So that's kind of been what I've been focusing on lately is the Stanford situation. But
mm.
I think anywhere that there's a house that needs some light construction and light renovating is an opportunity potentially to make into something really cute and not to get so scared of projects.
Yeah. Tell me, so you say light construction. Your definition may be different than mine. Like light construction for me is like replacing a door. Like, I'm like move everything has to be either move and ready or we built it ourselves, but like not, what's light construction mean for you?
Well, so yes, I'm saying for both of those situations, when I renovated my place, my first house, I took it down to the studs, added a bedroom, a bathroom, a closet, redid all the bathrooms. So that was not light construction. What I'm looking for on my next project is going to be light construction. It's going to be sanding and staining floors. It's going to be
Mhm.
painting. It's going to be maybe bringing in a new kitchen, but something that's already, the space is already there. The bedrooms and bathrooms are already there. So, painting and sanding, staining a floor in a house makes a humongous difference, And
Mhm.
if you look at some of these Airbnbs, a lot of them have original kitchens, but just put in new appliance and everything's really clean and they painted the cabinets. So that nothing that's like a complete demo. I think people are looking for charm. So really light construction, like
Got it.
maybe
So,
a
so
tile and bath. Yeah.
cosmetic updates, probably not necessarily like something that would have me to go to the town to go,
Yes.
get permits for.
Yeah, you're not moving any plumbing, you're not, changing any electrical stuff. Made really doing the basics. And you have to find a product that maybe someone's lived in for a really long time and they really well maintained it. It's just outdated. It might have pink carpets or green carpets or whatever the situation is. But once if you have a vision for that and you have a vision for the space, rip all those things out and you have yourself a cute little, charming Airbnb.
I love it. And how are you? So for the numbers, I think the one thing that is making it a little bit challenging to find opportunity these days are the interest rates, right? Because if you are if you are thinking about financing the project, the spread becomes a little bit more difficult with rates higher, right? So if you're looking at investment property, maybe it's 7.5, 8% borrowing rates, so the margins become tougher. Is that something that you're sort of evaluating, or do you have kind of a threshold that listen, this thing needs to yield X amount of dollars every month or percentage every month, or how do you kind of review them as a good opportunity versus one that maybe doesn't isn't worth the squeeze?
I think currently in our current like position in the Fairfield and Westchester County, there's a lack of inventory. So I think we're really safe in the fact that people continuously rent these places or are continuously looking, especially with the lack of inventory and someone selling their house and they're getting this extreme amount of money for their house, but they have nowhere to go. So in the interim, an Airbnb is always a great option. I had my Airbnb on for like 650 a night, say, which is great. And then I was like, okay, this is getting complicated. I raised it to 1,000. I've seen no difference in the amount of people that are trying, which is crazy to me. But
Hmm.
it's still, I was hoping that would kind of deter a little bit and I wouldn't rent it as much, but it's harder to say no to those. But I still see people constantly looking and I still get messages all the time. So I don't think the interest rates, as long as the margins make sense, you're still going to make substantial money off your house if it's properly managed. Another thing we didn't really talk about is really having a good back end on managing your
Yeah.
properties, making sure it's extremely clean, making sure you're responsive, making sure you're kind, making sure you're accommodating. That's like a whole half of the business, right?
Yep.
We want to make sure people are welcome. I leave a bottle of wine to every renter. I leave a note. I also use my house to network myself as a realtor. So I leave a whole note about who I am, if anybody's looking to buy or sell. So I leverage my house to help me in the market as well.
Oh, very cool. And are you would you recommend people do the management themselves, or do you generally encourage somebody to use? Are there other opportunities or any companies that that do a decent job at managing properties for folks?
Yeah, so my husband has a property manager who manages all of his houses. He's not as hands-on. I'm a little bit more of a control freak and I manage all my stuff on my own. I like to be the one that's responding. I don't like to delay. So I manage it myself. I think it depends on what you're good at. You kind of
Hmm.
have to decide. Like he doesn't have the patience for people messaging him like there's the toilet's clogged or this or that. So he needs a management company. For me, I'm like, I want to fix everything and make sure everything's okay right away. So I want to be the one involved.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So you got to sort of know your strength and weakness and does it make
Yes.
sense or not. Obviously, managing yourself improves the margins, but definitely may take a little bit more of your time from something else that you're up to. So,
Yeah.
any things that you see as like pitfalls, or any things that you're seeing that are like things to avoid when you're doing Airbnb or thinking about investment properties today?
So my current house is in a neighborhood, and that's a little tougher. I think that's why Stanford or Bedford or a little further north is really appealing to me because the neighbors aren't so close to you, and you really want to
Hmm.
be conscious of like your community, and you don't want people kind of coming and going, which I don't do at all. Most of the people that come are long term. So it's not like it's a revolving door in my neighborhood by any means. I vet every single person, but you really want to also be a good neighbor. So
Hmm.
making sure that that's something that you're considerate on, obviously following the laws. Like my husband's Airbnbs are in Middletown, Rhode Island, but in Newport, you can't have Airbnbs. So, like, if it goes 5 minutes over to where they are and they ever ban his, that would be a big deal.
Hmm.
So, you always have to just be constantly watching what's happening and being involved. It's still a risk, but regardless, he would still be okay because the investments he made on a real estate level are still great. You're just not going
Yep.
to make that kind of money.
Yep. So at that point in time, right, if for whatever reason the laws were to change in his town, at that point you say, listen, you made the money that you made, probably makes sense to just exit the property. Let's go sell it. And we've made smart investments from the onset, from the purchase price, from the improvements we made on this place. We've made the cash flow during that period of time, and now it's kind of time to go pivot to someplace else. Is that kind of how you think about
Kind
it?
of. It depends on each property. I think they're all a little bit different, but I think some of them you could probably rent for a yearly rent and make a couple of $1,000s off of it. And maybe you take some equity out of the house and you buy something else.
Hmm.
I don't think everything has to be sold per se. I think we have, like we talk about all the time, my husband and I talk about that we're used to holding on to real estate coming from, middle class families. Like you think real estate is the way to become rich and successful, but sometimes holding on too tight is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to let go of these properties. It's okay when you watch the people that are very successful in real estate, they're quickly making moves, they're quickly making sales, they're not emotionally attached to their properties like we kind of are. So we're starting to learn that new era of real estate right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's very funny. I think the people that are able to sort of take their emotions out of it, because real estate, for whatever reason, it's very emotional. Some of the mistakes I've seen people make with investment properties is like buying furniture as if they were going to live there themselves. I'm like, you guys are spent. You don't need restoration hardware furniture. You can get something significantly less, not spend $40,000 on furniture. It just eats into your margin. Like, it's not, if we think about this as an investment, let's treat it as such, right? I think that is something that we've seen, that conversations we've had to have with clients to sort of temper their spend on it, for sure.
Oh yeah, and what I love about the interior designer stager I work with, she like her markets are Walmart, Target, Amazon, Wayfair. Like that's where she shops, and like you give her a budget. Of course, if you're a higher end and you decide to do more, but for us, we found everything we wanted at like Target or Wayfair or Amazon,
Hmm.
and it's all great quality. Everybody's comfortable. The mattresses are amazing, but you don't have to spend that kind of money. So it's definitely true that you don't have to spend a ton of money for it to feel like a really quality place.
Yeah. Well, this has been, a great conversation. I really, really appreciate having you on and kind of sharing your insights with us. Any sort of final takeaways, any things that you really want to make sure that the listening audience kind of learns or takes away from the conversation?
No, I mean, other than a home is like the best investment for so many reasons. So hopefully people less focus so much on the rates and more focus on, where they want to live, finding the house that they want and enjoying it, especially coming up with the holiday season. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. And just where can the listening audience find out more about you, connect with you if they want to, look for a home or sell their home in the area?
Yeah, follow me on social media, Instagram. My Instagram is Jess underscore Sigmund underscore realtor. So that's probably the best.
Perfect. Well, I really, really appreciate you being on. Thanks so much for the time. And to you, the listening audience, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to click subscribe below to be notified when we have our next release. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you so
Jess.
much.